The Lord of the Ring has taken the internet by storm and surprised many diehard fans like us. The most recent episode of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, featured a Middle-earth-shattering revelation that was connected to the ongoing series, the Peter Jackson films, and JRR Tolkien's larger universe. Connections like these get us excited. Let's break it down. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about how The Rings of Power has just introduced a game changer. First off, what's the reveal? The legendary material known as Mithril is first mentioned on September 16th's The Great Wave. The substance Mithril, which is used to manufacture the body armor Bilbo Baggins was gifted by Thorin Oakenshield in The Hobbit, is something of a huge deal in Arda, as any reader of Tolkien's works will know. She gave it to Frodo in The Lord of the Rings, and it repeatedly saved his life. In the episode, Elrond was curious to find out where Prince Durin IV was skulking off to. It took some lip reading worthy of MI5 to get Elrond to the abandoned mines beneath Mirrormere. Here is where the game-changing revelation that the dwarves had been mining Mithril was revealed. Even though the dwarves were just beginning to fully understand Mithril, Durin was certain it could surpass their most cherished weapons. In light of this, a dubious Durin believed Elrond had been dispatched by Celebrimbor, an elf smith played by Charles Edwards, to steal the Mithril. We can understand why, given the troubled relationship between both the dwarves and elves. Although the dwarves are unaware of its value yet, the fact that this new mineral is lighter than silk and tougher than iron suggests that it could be Khazad-dûm's next big thing, according to Durin, who described how Disa discovered it while on a regular gold seam excursion. Mithril would make some mean weapons if it's used properly with respect to its value. Next up, what do the dwarves call it? We may link it with the Third Age of Middle-earth, but The Rings of Power explores the Second Age, and Episode 4 offers Mithril its own Genesis tale. Although the discovery of Mithril may not seem as significant, it's unquestionably just as significant. Some believed Durin was concealing one of the lost Silmarils down there. The Rings of Power, without a doubt, proves what Tolkien never said. Here, we discover that the dwarves named the substance Grey Glitter, despite the fact that the elven word for it is Mithril. Plus, it appears that the Rings of Power builds on a brief appendix in The Lord of the Rings, which just stated that the elves relocated to Eregion after learning that the dwarves had discovered Mithril. Although Durin III had previously advised his wandering son to cease looking for additional Mithril, a fatal turn is imminent. The mine extends all the way to the island of Menor, but the Mithril line will shortly be cut off, leaving only the dwarves with access to it, precisely as Queen Regent Muriel had predicted the island kingdom's imminent destruction in the Palantir Seeing Stones. This is all so interesting. The world building in this show is carefully crafted and highly admirable. Moving on, what does it mean for the dwarves? Mithril's significance extends to a variety of significant artifacts in addition to being a source of chainmail. Aragorn's King of Gondor crown, one of the 11 Rings of Power, and the portals to Moria are all embellished with Mithril in addition to being constructed of it. Even though we anticipate that this information will be revealed much later, Mithril was used to construct Galadriel's ring, known as Nenya. The three elven rings remained hidden from Sauron, as well as Narya and Vilya. Durin is right to be suspicious that Celebrimbor is eager to obtain Mithril, given that he's recognized for creating all three rings. Elrond swore under oath not to tell anybody else about the Mithril hoard, but as we all know, the secret won't last for long. Although the dwarves are indeed entering a new era of power and prosperity, Durin IV claims that it's also the beginning of their demise. As the dwarves proceed to mine Mithril in Moria, a sleeping Balrog will unintentionally be awoken. It's unlikely that the Rings of Power will reach the Third Age, but in TA 1980, Durin VI, who brought Khazad-dûm to ruin, was killed by the Balrog that would later become known as Durin's Bane. It's the same Balrog that appears in Gandalf's famous "You shall not pass" scene in the Fellowship of the Ring, and has been claiming Moria for more than 500 years. We feel like watching Fellowship of the Ring again. What a classic. Finally, let's talk about the future of the show. It's safe to infer that this origin tale for Mithril is a new creation for the program since The Rings of Power significantly departs from Tolkien's writing. Tolkien, however, didn't write much at all about the discovery of Mithril. He states that elves relocated to Eregion after learning that the dwarves had found Mithril in Moria in The Lord of the Rings Appendix B, but that's about it. Since Eregion is introduced by the time the dwarves discover Mithril, The Rings of Power has embellished this information. Nevertheless, this modification creates some intriguing narrative opportunities going forward. Will Elrond's devotion to the elves be put to the test in contrast to his friendship with Durin? Elrond vowed to Durin that he'd keep Mithril a secret. secret? Will the conflict over Mithril between both the elves and dwarves continue? The most urgent question is, what does the focus on Mithril signify for the creation of the Rings of Power themselves? The development of the Rings of Power, particularly the One Ring, will play a significant role in this series, as indicated by the show's name. Maybe Mithril will play a bigger role in the actual ring-making process. Only one of the rings, Nenya, the ring ward by Galadriel, is specifically mentioned in Tolkien's writing as being made of Mithril. In any case, we wouldn't be shocked if more Rings of Power received the Mithril treatment in the future, considering the paucity of information about a few of the other rings and the Rings of Power's strong tendency to deviate from the written version. And now for some other related news. First off, Rings of Power on Amazon strives to top HBO's House of the Dragon. HBO's House of the Dragon is outperforming Amazon's $1 billion Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, in terms of viewership. Using data from Whip Media, Insider reported that the Game of Thrones prequel received 51% more viewers than the Lord of the Rings prequel. The notion that Rings was underperforming HBO's high-budget series was refuted by an Amazon official, who also stated that public ratings on Rotten Tomatoes had been wrongly reduced by a review-bombing campaign organized by unscrupulous internet actors. Analysts, on the other hand, cited Tolkien's fervent fan following as a reason for casting skepticism on the multi-billion-dollar series. Despite the massive expenditure for the TV show, Tom Forte, an analyst for investment company D.A. Davidson, pointed out that it will be impossible for Amazon to satisfy the millions of Tolkien fans. The analyst continues, saying that there's also a chance that the series itself will turn out to be unsatisfactory. There is guaranteed to be a character, storyline, plotline, quote, etc. in the show that will trouble many ardent fans. That's not wrong. When you continue the storyline of such an iconic movie series, it's highly unlikely that everyone will be satisfied. Next up, in the teaser for the Rings of Power Episode 5, Sauron leads his force of orcs into battle. She's also attempting to persuade Halbrand to come back with her. In the last episode, it was shown that he's the Southland's heir apparent and is exiled. In the previous episode, Adar sent Arondir back to warn the refugees to submit to him or perish, and it appears that they have chosen to fight instead. In this episode, we also see Adar guiding his orcs against Bronwyn and her people who have taken refugees in the Watchtower. There are various ideas on who Adar is, the strongest of which suggests that he's none other than Sauron himself, but it's obvious that he's an elf who has fallen into corruption. The next episode will also center on Nori and the rest of the Harfoots as they migrate. The Harfoots were conspicuously absent from the 4th episode. A mysterious person who has fallen from the sky will also be traveling with them. Can't wait to see what happens next. Finally, Lord of the Rings weapon seen by Rings of Power fans in crucial Galadriel sequence. Fans of the Rings of Power saw an important Lord of the Rings weapon in the most recent episode years before it became important in the trilogy. Many of us who were watching intently found an Easter egg from the first Lord of the Rings movies. Fans became distracted during a crucial scene in the later part of the episode when they noticed Galadriel standing next to a well-known sword. Lord of the Rings viewers would recognize the object as Narsil, the sword Isildur used to remove the One Ring from Sauron's finger. Oh, we know that sword well. It was so exciting to see it again. Looking forward to many more Easter eggs in the show. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on this reveal? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.